So I'm probably a little younger than most of the people in the home arcade community. I'm only 32, so for me, arcades were a big thing up until I was probably 7. But I was fortunate enough as a kid to play at arcades at the mall, play them at other little, spots downtown where I grew up. And so I have a very fond memory of some particular games. A lot of those I own. So now I have Street Fighter 2. Now I have Marvel vs. Capcom. Those are games that I grew up playing and I have a very, very fond memory of. But one game in particular that I really wished Arcade 1-Up would have brought to the home arcade scene is House of the Dead 2. That was a game that growing up, both that one and the first one, I spent a lot of time at arcades playing. Number 2, however, I probably was a little bit more into, purely because I also had a copy on my Sega Dreamcast with the Dreamcast light gun. So I spent a lot of hours playing that game, unlocking stuff and going through it over and over again. So for me, that was one of those dream units that I wanted, and a couple years ago I actually considered buying a full-size arcade cabinet of House of the Dead 2, but I wasn't sure my wife would be too happy with me spending a couple $1,000s on it. So I actually decided that, you know what, I have an extra monitor laying around, I have an old Wii that doesn't get touched at all laying around, and I have a couple extra Wii remotes laying around. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and try my best to make my own House of the Dead 2 setup for my home arcade, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what I put together and how I did it. So to start off, I have this running on basically just a Wii with an HDMI converter attached to an old PC monitor. I believe it's an LG monitor that I bought a mounting kit off of Amazon for and just mounted to the wall here. Now, couple little things I added to try to make this feel more like an arcade. I actually had one of my close friends who designs stickers and prints and that sort of thing print me out a Sega sticker, and I put that right over top of the LG logo on this monitor. I also went ahead on Etsy and I ordered, I believe for like $30 or so, a marquee of House of the Dead 2. Now, this is actually mounted to a cardboard box that I just have screwed into the wall. There were 2 lights set up for it, however, they were dirt cheap. I bought them from Dollarama, and unfortunately, they no longer work. So I am planning on grabbing new lights or getting new LED strips or something to put in there to make this light up. It did at one point actually light up. Unfortunately, you can't see that here. Now, as far as the guns go, I actually went on Amazon and I ordered these Wii remotes. I believe it was like $15 for 2 of them. So you got a white and a black one. They're not the best quality, but they do the job. So I bought 2 of those. And I actually had started looking online as well for like holsters or mounts for light guns. There were a couple companies, I believe, who did make those. However, looking at them, they were very pricey. So what I did was I just ordered actual pistol holsters off of Amazon. They ended up costing me, I believe, about $40 for the 2 of them. And it's a little hard to tell here, but I just screwed them right into the wall. So there's nothing special about them. They're literally mounted that way. Now, the Wii itself, on that HDMI converter, to get sound out of this, I actually have just PC speakers plugged in, and to try to prevent a massive mess of wires behind everything, I actually put cardboard backing attached to this small little display table that I have here to kind of clean everything up. If you were to move everything out of the way, you would see that it's a complete giant rat's nest, but it looks good enough from where I'm standing and from where I normally play. But basically I have speakers sitting behind there to also pump out sound for House of the Dead 2. So there you have it. This was a pretty straightforward setup. Really, the hardest part was actually getting the game itself. I ended up picking that up at a used game store in downtown Toronto. I think it was for like $45. I believe this game's a little rarer on the Wii. But overall, this was a pretty straightforward setup. I ended up picking that up, putting this all together, and this is actually a setup that actually gets a pretty decent amount of play when people are over. I myself, like I said, I'm a huge House of the Dead 2 fan, so putting this all together was something that felt to me necessary when I was embarking on this path of building a home arcade.